This week, former President Donald Trump unleashed a wave of new tariffs, declaring what he called Liberation Day. But while the headlines focused on the United States, the ripple effects are about to shake the very foundations of the United Kingdom's post-Brexit settlement, especially in Northern Ireland. Trump's move, a massive 20% tariff on all EU exports to the US, and a still hefty 10% on goods from the UK. For British exporters, it may seem like a golden opportunity, but for Northern Ireland, it's a political and economic minefield. Under Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, known as the Northern Ireland Protocol, the region was left inside the EU's customs union, while the rest of the UK left. That means customs checks are required for goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. The Windsor Framework was meant to simplify this, using green lanes for local goods and red lanes for anything heading to the Republic of Ireland or the EU. But Trump's trade war has blown a hole in that system. If the EU retaliates with tariffs using what's called a trade defense instrument, then goods affected by those tariffs, even from America, would be forced through the red lane, regardless of their final destination. For Northern Ireland, that means more delays, more bureaucracy, and more costs. Unionists are already furious. Gavin Robinson, leader of the Democratic Unionist Party, raised the alarm in Parliament, warning that Northern Ireland is once again being treated as an afterthought, a pawn in someone else's trade war. And the UK government? It's caught in a strategic bind. If it sides with the EU and matches their tariffs, it may protect Northern Ireland's economy but lose a competitive edge in the American market. If it sides with the US, it risks deeper friction with the EU and with Northern Ireland itself. British businesses are already bracing for impact. The last time this happened, when the EU imposed tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, Northern Irish consumers got stuck in red lane chaos, buried under paperwork just to buy a car. Now imagine that happening with American goods across the board, from electronics to farm equipment. The Windsor Framework wasn't built for this. There is one potential off-ramp. The EU could focus its retaliation on services rather than goods. Services aren't covered by the Brexit agreement and wouldn't trigger red lane checks. It would also hurt the US, where it counts, because America runs a trade surplus in services, not goods. And that might be the best outcome for everyone involved. Because if cooler heads don't prevail, we're not just looking at a trade war. We're looking at the revival of Brexit's deepest wounds, a fresh wave of the division in Northern Ireland, and a UK that's once again forced to choose between Europe, America, and itself.